Growing up, I would literally spend every single summer playing football outside with our mates until 10 o'clock at night. It would be pitch black and we'd still be smashing a football at each other for the love of the game. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of welcoming on Damon Tindall, who's the founder of PlaySore. They're focused on making sure children, people stick to sports. The ages of 12 to 14 are formative years in kids dropping off from sport. We don't want that to happen. Instead of people being stuck on computers and smartphones scrolling through, it's better to be outside enjoying your core memories with your friends. This is what we speak about on this podcast. How do you fuse technology with actually getting outside, enjoying sports? If you're looking at coming off your phone a bit more, then maybe this podcast is for you. As entrepreneurs, we all experience challenges in our business journey. I'm Joe Story, and the Grappling Growth podcast is my attempt at documenting my entrepreneurial journey while building my brands. I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs, understanding how they grapple with growth. I hope you find value and enjoy. Damon, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here and a really great opportunity to connect with you and your viewers as well.
Damon, I'm intrigued. What does growth look like to you?
For me, Joe, I think it's obviously internal and external. So obviously from an external point of view, we're building out a game-changing product in the sports technology space. So growth is obviously getting that or continuing to get that product into the marketplace and seeing obviously expansion of our consumers and clients. So that's obviously external. Internally, we're looking at growing a team. We've brought on board some great talent. So working with that talent to continue to grow and build out a great product and platform for our users.
And just kind of taking a step back for a moment, what does growth look like to you more personally?
Look, I think growth, from my point of view, I'm very much about empowering a team. So when you bring on board the right talent, the way I like to look at it is you put the wind beneath their wings and see how high they can fly. So from my point of view, I've definitely believe in the Robert Kiyosaki thought that you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, or better looking, but definitely smarter. So I think from the point of view, what we've done is attracted some great talent and working with them to help them grow within the organisation, fulfil their personal and financial goals. And in doing that, we'll obviously then hit our goals as an organisation.
And for you, when you're building your organisation up right now, what are the key attributes and qualities you're looking for in the team? And then a layer above that, what culture are you trying to distill throughout your company?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we're obviously in the sports tech space, so obviously having key skills and attributes and those skill sets that we're looking for is obviously important. But beyond that, while we're a tech company, the ability to be able to relate to people, because at the end of the day, we're developing a product and a platform that's going to be used by athletes, by agents, by fans, by media, by brands, right across the world. So we obviously have to have people that actually understand the value proposition and how that's going to obviously be communicated to end users. So having people that have the ability to be able to communicate strongly and to understand that users are real people. While they're utilising technology in the sports space, they are real people. So having people that have strong communication and interpersonal skills is definitely very important.
And for you, with what you're looking to do, and might be just in good context with people, could you kind of unpack what you're doing within the market?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, what we're doing is I'll go back to probably my childhood, just to digress. Like, I love sport, and ever since I was a young kid, I played sport. My parents took me, particularly my mum, took me to sport. Whether it was cricket, football, rugby. I played a lot of sport when I was a kid, but I also love sport as a fan. So, as I got older, I got into coaching, and what I noticed is that as a coach at the high school level, I really noticed there's a significant drop-off in kids staying in sport, children staying in sport. So, we know the value of sport from a mental health perspective and also from a physical health perspective. But what I noticed is, and we see it across the statistics in the Western world, is there is a significant drop off, particularly amongst girls once they hit the teens. So, one of those reasons, obviously, they becoming engaged in digital experiences, social media, and also peer pressure. So, from my point of view, I wanted to see how we could utilise technology rather than actually fight against technology, how we could harness AI and harness technology to be able to create those experiences that kept kids engaged in sport. So bringing technology into play that allows kids to be able to have those same sort of digital experiences while also continuing to have the physical experiences or physical experience in playing sport or as a fan. So with that, we obviously looked at ways that we could reverse engineer utilising technology, looked at what gaps there were in the market, and what we saw was there was a lot of apps that were out there, but nothing that we saw as being an operating system for sport as such. So whether you're a fan, an athlete, you're a sports agent, whether you're a brand or whether you're in the media or whether you're running a venue, we saw that there was all these bits and pieces out there, but there was no system sitting beneath that, beneath sport. And so that's what we've been building out. If you're looking at, say, some competitors in the market, what they've done is they've used a merger and acquisition strategy to buy bits and pieces, rebrand them or rebadge them and try and stick them together. But what we've done is we're building a system from the ground up that has rails that sit underneath it, from monetization through to smart contracts that help athletes, agents, fans, whoever the stakeholder is, to maximise their experience and maximise the revenue opportunities and monetization opportunities that they have as stakeholders.
I'm with you. It's such an interesting use case, and I think essentially the democratization of sport is what we're looking for here, and giving those layers and opportunities to agents, athletes, and just ambassadors and stakeholders of sport is really important, probably especially in developing nations where there's a lot of brown envelope work that's going on. Just talking about use cases and value propositions, if you were to delve into the eureka moment you had in building out what you're doing here, what did that look like? What made you want to go into what you're doing right now?
Well, look, as I said, my passion is as a coach, as a dad who's got children playing sport, as a fan, previously as an athlete, still play golf and a bit of cricket and football. But as I transitioned to getting a little bit older in life and having those other experiences that you do within sport, I just saw there was a huge opportunity, a huge gap in the market. And when when we did a lot of reverse engineering, a lot of research to see what was in the market that we were looking to build, we're actually quite surprised that while there's a lot of money flowing into sports investment, there is very few systems like what we're building out. So, as I said, a lot of apps and a lot of point solutions and platforms, but nothing that actually sits beneath the rails of sport. And I'll give you an example, like from the point of view of an athlete. Like an athlete only has, in many cases, has a very short period of time as a professional athlete or a semi-professional athlete. So their window of opportunity to monetize their brand, and their brand is a business, is only very short. So what we saw is across sport, there was value leaking everywhere, and no more so than for athletes. So by being able to help athletes to build out their profiles, to be able to monetize through sponsorship opportunities, through maximising contracts, minimising, say, what they're actually paying to others to manage their career. There's just a huge opportunity, and that's one example where we saw value leaking in sport. But that's not just, obviously as athletes, but we saw that across the whole sports ecosystem. So to be able to bring together a system that has all stakeholders being able to engage together, and as I said, maximise the value and maximise their experience, that's where we saw a huge opportunity. That was definitely our eureka moment.
And just piecing it back to culture, what sorts of culture are you aiming to build within the company?
Look, I suppose as far as culture, we definitely want people to feel like they're empowered. We, as I said, the talent we're attracting to the team, they have had a wide range of experiences working across a range of tech companies, whether it's Google, Firefox, a range of different companies out there, and Microsoft. We've brought some great talent to the team, and so being able to empower them to be able to feel that they can actually add value, to bring ideas to the table, and those ideas are going to be openly received. Not every idea will be necessarily implemented, but that being said, we want to challenge each other. We want to create a challenging culture where we challenge each other. And as I said, using the Robert Kiyosaki analogy, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, and that's, I think, the power of what we're building from a culture is that everybody's feeling engaged, that they have the opportunity to engage, feel empowered, and be challenged by the opportunity, not only financially to provide that opportunity, but also from a professional and also as a specialist in their area.
Mm-hmm. And your background, so we can evidently see there's that love of sport, and that's where it started from your childhood, and you've passed it on to your children. You mentioned you're off to the States to see what opportunities lie for your own kids. To just kind of take us back in time a little bit, what did your childhood look like with regards to sports? How did you be spending your day growing up in Australia? I imagine you're probably doing jumps for goalposts and making made up wickets there to play cricket. But what does that look like? Paint the scene for us.
Absolutely. Look, Joe, that's a great question. I think, looking back at my childhood, and I see how it's changed for our children, particularly because of social media. There's smartphones, there's laptops, there's tablets. There's all these different devices to distract children. And I mean, I was fortunate. I grew up in the era where you got home from school, you go out the front or out the back with your next door neighbours, your friends, and you're playing cricket or you're playing football. Even to the point where we get so competitive, there would be like a light post over the road, and we would get stones and have competition to see who could actually hit the post over the road. Just because, we want to be active, we want to be outside. We're there till the point where you couldn't see anymore. Whether it's diving on the ground, kicking a goal, or diving in for a try, or getting that last wicket in before the light faded for the night. So, I was fortunate that I had that experience, and I had parents that, particularly mum, was more sort of actively involved in my childhood from a sports perspective. And mum would be taking me to sport at rep level, pretty much all weekend I was playing sport. So, even to the point where mum would cut the oranges for half time in the football. So, I was fortunate to have that support, but also had those experiences as a child that now, the passion I bring towards helping, engage and have children engaged and remaining in sport for, throughout their childhood and beyond into their teens. I just see that as being enormously, of enormous value from a mental and also a physical health perspective.
How much of a game changer would it be for your business if you could learn from the same A advisors as Tony Robbins, or the people who've been in close proximity to Dan Sullivan, famously the co-author of 10x is easier than 2x. Today's sponsor to the podcast is AI Simplifier. They have put together a 30-day roadmap program to help teach you how to implement AI into your business. They've helped people save 10 to 20 hours per week, add millions of dollars in additional revenue to businesses. And for those who listen to this podcast and decide to sign up with them, you will get a complimentary AI breakthrough session with Steve French, one of the co-founders, and myself to really pencil in and figure out what we can do with your business. Now, back to the episode.
I suppose back when you were a child, mental health just wasn't a thing that was really spoken about, or it wasn't studied. So even just the thinking now, these are things that we can look back to and think of and see the benefits in my childhood sounds very, very similar to yours. What do you think the problem is with today's age? I get what you're doing is to essentially combat youth adoption of smartphones and replacing it. And it's interesting because I kind of grew up in this generation where, or my brother, he's 7 years younger than I am, we would just spend our time outside playing football. That's all we did. then the generation below, my sister's generation, it stopped. That there was none of that. And for me, at least, I grew up in the South West London council estate. It makes me sad to see that there aren't kids when it's summer outside. They're indoors. It's a truncated question, or it's a thought that none of us have the answer to. And the point I'm getting to is technology's been created to keep people as sticky, engaged onto their phone as possible. What do you think we can do as people who saw the benefits of going outside, played sport all the time? What do you think we can do with the younger generations to really encourage them to create these social environments through sport?
Absolutely. Look, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's about social engagement. I mean, it's not just obviously from a mental health and a physical health perspective, but also socialisation. I mean, the ability to be able to build friendships through sport. I mean, I was fortunate playing sport where I've still got friends 30, 40 years later from being a kid, and friendships I made playing sport. So I think that's important, and I think that parents want to try and encourage children to remain engaged in sport for as long as possible and to incentivise them to do so. But at the same time, as I touched on previously, it's about how we harness technology as well. So technology shouldn't be seen as the enemy like it is, in many cases we sort of see it as being, either A or B. A is that you're either on social media or playing, on your PlayStation or your laptop or whatever it is, or you're playing sport. There can be actually a combination of both, and that's where I think as founders and as parents, I think it's important that we look at ways that we can harness technology to create opportunities where children can still have the digital experiences or physical experiences, where they're utilising a combination of, say, physical as well as digital experiences to be able to keep them active and keep them engaged, and keep them, having those social experiences where they're building friendships for the long term.
Yeah, it's for me it feels like we're trying to create this utopian world where kids are encouraged to go out, socialise, and I think that there's no point playing the enemy of social media because everyone's on social media now. Even
Absolutely.
Myself, the older generations. Typically, people will come in from a long day, they'll jump on their phone. Or a really good example is if you're on holiday, you haven't had Wi-Fi or signal for the whole day. The first thing people do when they get back to their apartments or hotels is, and they just doom scroll for a good 15, 20 minutes because that's how we've been programmed. The neuroplasticity of what most people have been doing now for the past 10 years is that as a fabric, and ultimately unless there's government intervention or key stakeholders who come out and say, you need to stop doing this, which they're not, because the companies, the likes of Meta, X, their job is to keep people sticky onto their platforms. YouTube, they're not going to be coming out and saying, you need to come off our platforms, because 97, 98% of their revenue is derived from AdSense, ad revenue, and they only make that much money because they have those advertisers there with captive audiences. So it's for me, I'm really looking at it as how do we combine the two, the in real life experiences and also the social media experiences, to actually fuse them. With what you guys are doing, how do we look at bridging that gap? Is that one of the use cases of what you're building right now?
Absolutely. One of the partners that we're working with is in the rugby league or rugby space called 9PL. So they're basically built out a 9-a-side hybrid version of rugby league, and they're looking to move into other sports. And what they're doing is they're looking at obviously utilising young and up and coming players, say 18 through to 21, but also recent retired professionals who want to give back and still remain engaged in the sport. So they're obviously creating events where obviously it's based around not only the sport but also around entertainment. It's based around engagement for families and communities. So where technology can come into play there is obviously providing fan experiences. And you're seeing this already now with some of the major sporting brands in the world. With their venues, what they do is they actually create experiences for fans, for young fans, where they're actually combining the in real life experience with also a digital experience. So they're as fans, they're incentivized to be able to engage not only in the game, but also engage through digital experiences as well while they're at the game. And that's the same thing that we're building out with, we'll be building out with 9PL, is creating those engagement opportunities for fans, for athletes, but also for brands. So, I suppose via our platform, we've looked at ways that we can have one sporting action, creating multiple outcomes, whether it's monetization, whether it's an experience for a fan. So that's where those rails, as I said, that are sitting beneath the system, or the system sits beneath sport, is so important. But creating those experiences for fans at events is really, really critical, whether it's at a professional, semi-professional, or a hybrid level like we're working on currently.
So I guess just really unpacking that, when you say experience, what do you mean exactly by experience? Because when I listen to experience, I look at the World Cup that's going on right now, and I look at what they're doing now for fan experience, and it looks to me as though it's been diluted a little bit. And even when I look at other sports or entertainment such as the UFC or WWE, it feels like we're getting less sports and we're getting more entertainment, whether it be hydration breaks, whether it be overpriced beverages at the stadiums, whether it be elongated advertising commercials. They're looking at, okay, we've got a captive audience here for 2 to 4 hours. How do we maximize shareholder revenue? How do we add experience by putting theatrics in? And you've seen it with the Super Bowl halftime shows. I hope football doesn't go that far down. I mean, that's for a spectacle, fair enough. Maybe we can do a show for the FA Cup or other tournaments, and we will for the World Cup. But just looking at that at a more refined grassroots level, how do you put experience into sport?
Yeah, look, a great question, Joe, and I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there. I think that if you look at many of the professional sports now, it's become, has it gone too far towards a business? And obviously the entertainment of sport ties into business and brands. So, a good example of that, as you said, is the World Cup with hydration breaks. And looking at say, the NFL, where, they have the 2-minute warnings, which is, purely put in place not from a tactical perspective, but from an ad break and a revenue perspective from sponsors. So there is that fine line there, and whether we like it or not, unfortunately, sport has moved towards being heavily entertainment and heavily commercialised. So that is a given. But we've also looked at how we engage fans, particularly young fans. So I'll go back to the example I was using with 9PL. So one of the things that we look to do, that we're looking to build out in partnership with them, is look at how we can create opportunities. Obviously, I said they've got a lot of ex-professional players, high-profile players that are coming back to play in these events. So looking at how we can create XP, or what we call experience points, which go towards fans having experiences with these professional players. So it might be, say, getting 10 signatures you qualify for an experience with a team, or a certain athlete. So I don't know if you remember as a kid, you always looked up to your idols, and as I know from my perspective, when I got to meet some of my sporting idols, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to continue playing sport. So I think having those in real life experiences where we're actually creating incentivizing children to be able to be rewarded through gamification, and through combining both the digital and in real life experience, where they are actually incentivized to remain engaged. That is definitely, I think, where we're going to crack the nut on that particular problem, because nothing keeps children in the game more than obviously building friendships, but also having idols and having experiences with athletes, particularly professional athletes that have high profile.
How much of a game changer would it be for your business if you could learn from the same advisors as Tony Robbins, or the people who've been in close proximity to Dan Sullivan, famously the co-author of 10x is easier than 2x. Today's sponsor to the podcast is AI Simplifier. They have put together a 30-day roadmap program to help teach you how to implement AI into your business. They've helped people save 10 to 20 hours per week, add millions of dollars in additional revenue to businesses. And for those who listen to this podcast and decide to sign up with them, you will get a complimentary AI breakthrough session with Steve French, one of the co-founders, and myself to really pencil in and figure out what we can do with your business. Now, back to the episode.
And I think that's important, and exactly to the point we were saying about earlier. It's, you're not going to, if you tell someone to drink water, they're more likely to not drink water. It's really thinking of how do we create we don't want people to rebel. So it's, social media is here to stay, whether we believe it's toxic or not. So it's fusing the two together, and I think you're seeing more and more bigger organisations, they're looking at fan experience. I'm a Manchester United fan. Good or bad, I don't know.
I won't hold that against you, Joe. I won't hold that against you. I'm a Scouser. I'm a Liverpool fan, but...
Okay, we'll stop the podcast. But even looking at the Manchester United app, daily notifications now, features and mentions about all of the Man United players at the World Cup or any event tours that are coming up, and I benefit because I'm based in the UK, so I can take a very overpriced train up to Manchester, go watch a game, go do a tour of the stadium. I have one coming up soon, but you're the other side of the world. You can't get to Liverpool as easily as I can. And for you, there's such an opportunity there for Liverpool fans or Liverpool Football Club to turn their football team, which is a local sporting team, into an international powerhouse through technology, through experience. And I think, and my brain's just lighting up as you're talking about what you've said here, because I can see so many different opportunities and use cases for those teams there, but equally what you're talking about there, fusing that whole experience, making it, gamifying it, especially for the children who are coming up through sport, so there isn't that drop-off. With that, how do you envision your platform really keeping kids, the grassroots level of sports, into sports for longer? Because I do think that away from retention, there's such a secondary and high value benefit, which is we're keeping people fitter for longer. The mental health, the physical health benefits of being in sport pay off into your 70s, 80s. I'm sure there's tons of studies out there, which I haven't delved into, but someone who takes their physical health seriously versus someone who doesn't, their life expectancy increases. It's just a byproduct there. What are we really looking at with regards to making impact to the younger generation is what I'm asking.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, we've obviously just spoken about obviously Manchester United, Liverpool. We're talking about NFL. We're talking about professional sports. But really, that's while that's a huge bit of the pie from a commercialisation standpoint and from a revenue standpoint, from the point of view of actually fans and actual people participating in sport, the pie is much bigger. You're looking at 99.9% of people that are fans, social athletes, are in youth sports or semi-professional. So of those percentage of people actually participating in sport as athletes, it's only a very small percentage. So I think this is where the importance of our platform comes into play, because we're bringing together all stakeholders, including brands. And this is where brands have an important part to play, because they can actually become part of activations. They're sponsoring activations, at youth sports, where they're actually putting their brand front and center in front of, tens of thousands of children, hundreds of thousands of children every weekend, and they're actually also got the parents there, so they've got a captive audience. So if I'm looking at it as a brand where I'm going to get bang for buck, I'm not necessarily looking just at putting my name on the Premier League or sponsoring an NFL team or a National Rugby League team. I'm looking at how I can actually put my brand where there's going to be the most participants. And that is in youth sports, it's in social sports, it's in semi-professional sports. So I think, by looking at how we, I suppose, reverse engineer how sport is monetized and where the value of sport is, there is massive value in that huge segment of the pie, which many brands don't look at. And so when you can create those activations and those experiences, digital and also in real life, we're actually bringing all stakeholders together, giving them an incentive where they can, increase value and to be able to derive value. That's powerful. And now the benefit of that to our kids is that those brands are then investing back into sport, back into creating more experiences and keeping kids potentially in sport for longer. So definitely I think that all stakeholders, but particularly brands that are looking at commercialising just professional sport, also have a huge role to play at the youth level and also at the semi-professional and social level.
That's it, it's impactful work there. Damon, it's been a pleasure. Where can people find you? More importantly, what's next?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Joe. It's been a great opportunity. Look, you can connect with us on PlaySore.com. Also via LinkedIn. It's a great place to connect with us, or Insta. Just on PlaySore Official on Insta or on LinkedIn. Be lovely to connect with like-minded founders that see the power in what we're building. Not only from a point of view of potentially becoming a stakeholder or a partner, but also from what we're looking to build. We're obviously open to potentially some investment partners as well. So definitely I see there's a huge opportunity for what we're building. It's something different. It's something that provides unique value. It's a unique value proposition in the space. What comes next? Well, we'll continue to invest into our platform, into our technology. We'll continue to build out our user space. We'll also be bringing on board some ambassadors. So we're going to be investing a lot of money into some high-profile ambassadors that will help to build and get our brand into the market and help PlaySore become the go-to brand for sport for all stakeholders, whether they're youth sports, semi-professional or social sports. So it's been a great opportunity to connect with you and to get our story out there and to be able to talk about the power of bringing together technology and helping to harness technology to help the next generation of athletes, fans, and brands to be able to benefit from having an operating system that brings all stakeholders together.
Damon, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Great chatting.